It's no longer just about Alan Yurko in the case of our family. It's about so many others out there.
He really has been able to generate the interest and support of a lot of people who now have what I have come to believe is the real explanation of his son's death.
At 2 months old, he was given his routine vaccinations, which included the DTaP shot, that's a 3-in-1, the hepatitis B, the Hib, and the polio, all in one day. And immediately, when he was given those shots, immediately afterwards is when he started to have reactions to them.
When a mother takes her child into a doctor, a perfectly healthy, bright child, into a doctor, and that child gets vaccinated, at this point sometimes with 9 or 10 different vaccines on one day, and that child then deteriorates before her eyes and regresses physically, mentally, and emotionally and becomes a totally different child. This is such a powerful experience that it doesn't matter what the official doctors in the public health agencies say.
I did not go through a normal pregnancy. It was riddled with many complications, and it did not even go through full term.
He was premature. He was febrile. He wasn't well.
Virtually every single week, we had taken our son into the pediatrician for one thing or another. You know, his belly would be bloated up. He would have problems with constipation or diarrhea. Regardless of all those things that were still going on with him, he received all 6 of those shots in one day.
The baby at 2 months, he's only 3 weeks old. He's not 2 months old because he was 5 weeks premature. Second is, you don't vaccinate a child with a lot of problem.
We have a situation where every child is required to receive a substantial number of vaccinations, maybe as many as 20, from the time they're 6 months old until they're before they go to school. We know that some percentage of those children will be maimed and some will die. We know that. And we have a federal program that compensates parents for the death and maiming of their children. We've put more than $1.5 billion in that program in the last decade and a half. That's $1.5 billion that have gone to pay for children that were killed or maimed by a product which we knew was going to kill or maim them. The only issue is we didn't know which ones.
Back when I was growing up, we maybe got half a dozen shots before we even entered into the school system. Nowadays, it's something outrageous, like 33 different shots before they even hit kindergarten.
I think pharmaceutical companies play a tremendous role in the rush to have our children use more and more vaccines. They're a very powerful lobby. They're one of the biggest businesses in the world, and I think that there is pressure that's placed, particularly on legislators at the state level, along with medical organizations that join with the pharmaceutical lobby to press for mandates for these vaccines so that every child basically has to use them in order to get into school.
You know, there are many MDs, pediatricians, who refuse to see an unvaccinated child. They won't let them into their practice. Now, I think that's an abrogation of their Hippocratic oath. I mean, if they really believed in the efficacy of vaccinations, if a kid is unvaccinated, they'd want that child under their care. They'd want to keep an eye on them because they're unprotected. But in fact, they won't even let them come into the office. This is practicing modern medicine, or is this modern medical hypocrisy? I think it's hypocrisy.
Those vaccines were the final straw, I believe, on his body that shut him down. He couldn't handle everything else that he was dealing with on top of the insult of all those vaccines into his system.
Some of the symptoms that baby Alan was showing actually were consistent with vaccine damage. Some of the vaccine-related injuries mock the symptoms of shaken baby syndrome.
There are so many things that are in these vaccines.